Top of the morning to you. This episode is brought to you by the St. Patrick's Day Shamrock Shavers, Manscaped. This year, don't just chase rainbows, make your own pot of gold and groom your little leprechaun with the leaders in below the kilt care. Say goodbye to your clover forest with Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 and let your confidence shine bright. Embrace the look of the Irish and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Head over to manscaped.com, use the code SHOW20 for 20% off plus free shipping. Ever since I've used Manscaped, I can proudly say I've found my pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Meet your new lucky charm for St. Patrick's Day, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. This trimmer comes with two interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, one for a classic trim and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. Equipped with dual LED spotlights, navigate your shamrock path in peace. Worried you'll make a mess? Fear not. This wonder is waterproof. Shave by the misty moors, under a waterfall, or even during a rain dance. Its compact case makes it an ideal companion, ready for any adventure or last-minute plans. Trimming the hedges in your Irish garden isn't just for below the belt. Complete your look with Manscaped's signature Beard Hedger Pro Kit and Handyman Electric Face Shaver. Whether you're sculpting your beard or cleaning up your neckline, these are always the right tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOW20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOW20 at manscaped.com. This St. Patrick's Day, make sure your little hairy leprechaun is luckier than ever with Manscaped. Hello everyone and welcome to the FM show. I am your host Tony Jameson and joining me as always is the main man, RDF Tactics. Aaron, how are you, pal?
Not doing bad at all. Not doing bad at all. Still trying to create some tactics, more tactics on Football Manager. Again, that is where I'm at with, interestingly actually, I say I'm City, I'm testing Pep Guardiola tactic at Manchester City. Mm-hmm. But again, it's like, I've mentioned this like in the last two episodes now, where you just start finding little things where it's just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I'm constantly on the forum now for the last month or so. I've been on the forum, and then there's been this thing about central play, and I think it's through balls. So I think recently, or on FM24, they used to see a lot of through balls, whereas this year is not so many, which actually I think I like it, because I think sometimes in FN23 you could say it was forced. So for an example, an advanced forward sometimes can just force that. Like he makes that run and then players like, oh, I've got to pass it to him sort of thing. And then we'll just sort of force that through ball. Whereas now I think there's more of a setup to it, more of a method to get those through balls. So I remember talking on the forum and it was just like, so I'm Manchester City and we are currently just abusing this through ball thing. But the reason is because obviously we've got Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland. That makes a big difference. But it's just the fact that we've just got two wingers stretching the play. The moment KDB then gets the ball in that sort of half channel, a centre-back will come up and press. Haaland makes the run, and then De Bruyne's just like, boom, through ball. And it's just like kept happening constantly. And I'm like, that makes sense. Whereas before, I would probably have like, maybe not me, but other people will have so many attacking roles or whatever. And there's no one actually focused on creating that space for the through ball, which is like, it's one of those things which I think I like about FM24 as well. There's more of a method to certain things rather than just using an instruction like passing into space and, oh, that's what's got in the through ball sort of thing. But I'm not even using passing into space. I'm just using KDB as the main person because of his role. He's got to take more risk and whatever. So he's already going to be doing that to the advanced forward, Haaland, who is moving into the channel. So that's going to happen. But we're just doing it more. There's more of a method to it. And obviously we're abusing it by making sure we get the right players, making sure it's Haaland on the end of it, not Jack Grealish. Otherwise, that just doesn't make sense for us. And making sure it's KDB playing that pass rather than a Kyle Walker or someone where if you're using pass into space, you're kind of encouraging all players to do it. But we don't want all players to do it because we want to create space for it to then do it, sort of thing. So that's where I'm at.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense because my brain is quickly recapping the last week of watching me playing Greece, looking for through balls, and because I was at first I was about to go, "What are you on about? There's no through balls. I'm seeing through balls all the time. Like I've got my players coming inside and playing little dink passes for Super Job to run to, and he adds another brick into his statue. But then I'm thinking." You then went about players moving and creating space, and obviously with positional play in FM24.
Exactly, yeah.
I remember a goal very, very fluidly. I had Kaki running down the wing on the right-hand side. I had Bakwan just behind him, who's a wing back.
Yeah.
Kaki goes down there. They play a little sort of 1-2 with each other. Bakwan's right up next to him. He's not meant to be that high, to be honest, but he's right up next to him. He plays the ball out to Kaki, who you expect is then going to drop the shoulder, go round, and then cut the ball back in the area. Instead, he just sort of dinks it back to Bakwan, who has a bit of a look up, and then JKA, Kuzi Azari, has already made that little, hang on, right, he's got the ball. I'm going in that little bit of space there. He's already sort of given him the eyes and a bit of the nudge, going, stick it in there. Go on, no one's going to see me there. By that point, Bakwan's just dinked a little through ball in, and I'm like, yeah, we've got that.
I think that's the thing, and a lot of people, it's probably not even our listener pool as well. It's just more of those people that want those sort of quick results, and I don't think they sort of realize if you're going to use such an aggressive attacking mentality with attacking duties. Attacking mentality, by the way, is not a problem. It's more so how you're using it. If you've got an attacking mentality, I wouldn't then advise using 4 or 5 attacking roles because then you're just going a bit overboard. But that's what people do. But they also want that, but then have a method of play when really you're just going gung ho. You're just going. I don't want to say Liverpool, but you know what I mean when I say heavy metal. Sort of win the ball back. For when you win the ball back, you don't really have a style of play. It's just, or maybe quick combination play, forward, scoring goals. When you're in possession, I think this is where people start to have their issues because they've got their tempo all the way up. So already they're increasing their risk with the passing. So you might not actually even get much of a build-up because your ball-playing defender, high tempo, attacking mentality, risk. He's just going to go, ignore the DM. I'm going straight for the centre midfielder or ignore everyone else. I'm going straight for the winger sort of thing. And I think that's what some people don't really have the patience for it because they might be thinking, actually, let me slow the tempo down. Let me go to support, play a game. It's not working. Patience gone. And they go back to what they know, which is going to give them the results. But then they will then complain as well that this doesn't happen for them, that doesn't work for them. But really, I think sometimes it's just patience with it. And that's what I've been doing. Some people have been saying certain things or they can't get certain things. Sometimes it's not even a complaint, it's tactical help. And then what I've been doing is literally I have my FM save open and I'll just quickly do it. And that's what I've been doing. And if there is an issue, then obviously I've got a way that I can then report that. And it's all in a hope to make a better game, basically. But if I'm honest with you, there's not many issues. There's more so people thinking there's an issue. And yeah.
Mate, you've hit the nail on the head there. I don't know how many times people have said it this year, particularly this year. Nick Madden, who of course is the head of the Match Engine team, bangs that drum constantly. Minor tweaks. Don't make a wholesale change. Don't change 4 or 5 different things every time you pause the game, because these players are either not taking the instructions in, or because you're doing it and you feel like you're having to make a change, you're not considering the impact of one change on the next thing. We said in last week's episode, we were saying about maybe, players getting caught out of position. We instantly go, we'll change his role, rather than changing someone else's role that's maybe forcing him to be out of position. You already, again, you're saying there about passing to space. I play passing to space. And as you've just said, I don't want everyone playing passing to space. I'm like, that's why they're playing those suicide passes, because they're all doing it. So, and it sounds obvious when someone else says it out loud.
It's crazy. So that's another thing actually I wanted to say. And luckily I just remembered it. You just kind of reminded me. That's another thing. So usually it's what I do. It's many people might do this actually, is you have your roles. So you might set up your roles first, go to team instructions, then go back to players and then sort of fine tune the instructions. Whereas what I've done with the Man City one, because I just want to do different things. Like I've done a Man City tactic before. How can I make it different? What different information can I give in this video? So really, I'm trying to focus on like overloading one side and then trying to hit diagonals on the other. Also, the through ball thing, that's now going to be in the video. But what I've done is starting tactics by doing the player roles, but then also the instructions. So Manchester City, they do high press, but they're not actually aggressive. But in Football Manager, it can be difficult to have a high press without your front line being overly aggressive. So I just like, what happens if I just start using player roles to dictate how I'm going to play and then use the team instructions instead to fine tune? So this is what I meant about KDB taking the risky pass. That's because I've added that to his instruction, but now the player next to him doesn't have it. So in my head, the only player really that should be attempting those through balls is KDB because that's who I want. And that's what I've just been doing. So like all my players have pass it shorter. I don't have to go into my team instructions and have everyone pass it shorter because actually what happens if there's one player or two players or three players that I want slight different passing directness? Maybe they don't have the support as other players or whatever it is. So that's just what I've been doing. And like for my high press, I've got now a hybrid press. So I've got my wingers closing down less, but then I've got my central midfielders and my striker closing down more. So really I want my central players to press aggressively, but then my wide players just to kind of keep shape. Because what I have noticed as well in this Man City thing, when I did have the high press, is that the wingers would just go and run, just leave the flank open and they could just pass it down the flank. But actually, if that winger just stayed, then that's what I can do. So with the hybrid press, I don't even have to twiddle with the team instructions, the pressing trigger. That's just bang in the middle, but each player has a trigger thing assigned to them. So my middle players all pressing aggressively. As soon as the ball goes in the middle, boom. My wide players just keep your shape. And that's just, again, it's just different things that you can find in Football Manager. Whereas I wouldn't have done that. Everyone, normally, in 99.9% of my tactics, everyone has a trigger press, which is the team, and everyone just follows that. This is the only one where I've really like, all right, my wingers, my wide players don't press, central players press, sort of thing.
Again, man, I just feel the penny dropping. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm just like, that makes so much sense. Like, there's a question I need to ask though with this, and it's not maybe not 100% linked to this, but it's an idea I've got in my head, and I need to ask it right now. Okay, I'm sure there'll be listeners sat going, "Oh, TJ, you've asked a belter here," right? And it's not what we're going to talk about. Okay?
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you do when your opposition gets reduced to 10 men?
Oh, I think. I'm sorry, SI. I'm sorry, people. I think I've found the fix, like the actual fix. Very attacking. That
is it go super because like
so I've been having this issue before. Just like every time the AI gets a man sent off, I just usually keep it thinking, well, that's game done. We're just gonna roll them over now, and then nothing happens. I'm like, huh? And then one, I think it was like I think I was an Inter Milan test, and it was just like, well, I'm 2-0 up. There's nothing to lose. Let me just go very attacking. And the next minute, it was just like, go. I was like, oh. So I just kept doing it every time the opposition gets sent off. And then, yeah, my issue is I have no idea what to do when my player gets sent off. In this Manchester City,
player gets sent off.
When this Manchester City test, I was like 1-0 up or 2-0 up against Newcastle. Got a man sent off in the 45th minute. The match momentum it was ugly. And that's when I was there every 5 minutes trying thinking, the flip, do you stop this sort of thing? Like my players are just making stupid decisions, but player getting sent off, I don't really know what to do. It's sort of just just hope for me at the moment. But when the AI get a man sent off, it's just literally, I don't change nothing, just the mentality at the bottom, very attacking, and then that usually does. Because I think the AI reaction to a man sent off is always just drop deeper. It's always going to be defend more. And if you're still playing the same way, I don't know, maybe it's just sitting back, just soaking it up, sort of thing. Whereas if you should start throwing very attacking, because very attacking is also going to increase most things. If the ball goes off for a throw-in, your players are likely just going to try and throw it back in and keep the play going, sort of thing. So I think there's more of an, not computer exploit, but there's more of a space exploit when you're using very attacking, when the opposition got a man sent off, sort of thing. I think in real life, you'll be a lot more cautious, though, because you wouldn't be throwing everyone forward because then you're leaving spaces and gaps. But
I think that's what I was trying to work out, because, again, as we've sort of said on the show before, despite how little football I actually watch, like I try to play FM as close to what I believe will be realistic as possible. So when the opposition goes down to 10 men, my thought is not instantly, right, throw everything at them. Like I kind of maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot. I'm giving them 10 minutes to sort of almost
Work it out.
like work it out themselves and go, right, like, let's not throw everything in. Maybe we should go at them for 10 minutes. But I'm always conscious that if you do that, the game's then going to go, well, you've just left your position. So they're going to just ping that ball in there. And not only have they had a man sent off, they're now 1-0 up, right? And now they're going to sit back and defend. So I almost sort of think that this is how we play.
Yeah.
Our game plan hasn't changed. Their game plan has to change because they've got to adapt to the situation. We don't.
Exactly,
And I still see my team attacking, creating chances. Unfortunately, the XG does tend to drop because we're just snatching at things.
Yeah.
So that sort of makes a bit more sense than to go
it's just
very, very attacking.
Yeah. It's just you don't really know the mechanics of the game, so you don't actually know, okay, if the AI gets sent off, how your players are now thinking. Like, are they now more nervous as well, or whatever it is?
All right, we've got this now.
Exactly. You don't actually really know how your team then reacts because like you say, it should be the AI that reacts to it, but maybe the game's actually waiting for you to react to it as well, rather than just sit there and just. And it's not really the game, it's really the match. Maybe that match situation is waiting for, not necessarily Football Manager waiting, but just that match situation. Maybe it's just waiting for you to make a change. Like you said, you're still creating, but now you're just snatching at it rather than. So maybe it's just the game is hoping or the match is hoping for you to make sort of a change or whatever it is.
Do you reckon the match itself makes a difference? So, like, say your opposition are top of the league, right?
Yeah.
And they get a man sent off. Like, do you think that your players sort of go like, oh, well, maybe, now we've got a chance of getting a point? Like, do you reckon that, and it probably doesn't, but do you reckon there's anything that goes through their heads going, hey, we've got a chance now, that's about it. Whereas, like, if you get the bottom of the league, get a man sent off, their players should be going, right, come on, we've got to win this now. Like, this is done and dusted, surely.
It's difficult, because even your own marking system could be, I wouldn't say just completely messed up, but it can now change because now there's a less player to mark sort of thing. So there could be a player thinking, actually, now they've got a man sent off. Now maybe that player on your team doesn't actually quite know what to do with himself, especially off the ball. So rather than looking to gain advantage by finding a space to attack, they could just be marking or looking, thinking, where's this guy that I was marking before? Where's he gone? I need to carry on marking him.
Well, last week's episode, when we're talking about player ratings and stamina levels, like, you lost your mind when I said I would sub off a centre half during the game. We had an example this week where in Greece, our opposition had a player sent off. We were pushing. We went from 4-3-3 to 4-2-4. There was a moment when we were considering taking a centre half off and going 3-4-4, 3-3-4, like, and really going for it. But there was a little bit in my head going, Aaron would lose his mind if he knows what I'm about to do now.
See, even about to change system, again, this is probably just too much of modern football and watching modern football, especially like watching Pep and Arsenal. It's like, I think, like, even then, if I had to change formation, I'll keep my centre-backs on because then one of them can still play in those wider areas sort of thing. Anyway, because then going through at the back or whatever, or changing the system, but then removing a defender for sort of a wing back with less positional sense, again, that just could be risky. The only way, actually, I would change my centre-backs if, in that situation, I'm changing my system, but it's only to put the centre-back up top.
I was about to say that. Stick the centre half up top and they become the third striker.
There's also another thing that I haven't done with 10 against 10 men. I mean, that could be an idea. That could be an idea. Just maybe throw a centre back up there or tall lad up there. Going back to like many episodes before, not even many episodes, but previous episodes before, when we in game changed the tactic and we brought Haller on, a target forward, and that just allowed us to attack differently. And maybe that's just, even against 10 men, if you throw in a target forward, rather than having one on already, throwing him on, that just gives them a different headache. It just gives them a complete different headache.
Look for someone who's got a bit of pace, a bit of strength. Find that Dharma Traore somewhere, get him in there.
And it's just, I do think, though, a lot can depend on your system. For an example, if I'm using a 4-3-3, but my attacking width is fairly narrow, a man sent off, now I might have to be forced to actually make my attacking width fairly wide, focus down the play, and then is trying to get them to stretch, and then we can try and exploit areas. Because, again, if they go a man sent off and we're still trying to attack narrow and go through the middle, that is where they're defending. So it's just like, come on, keep coming then. And that's when you start taking long shots, players get frustrated, etc., etc.
Yeah, crosses are coming in, then you get that header at the back post that goes up and over the bar, and you're like, how's he done that again?
He just closes his eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not a target forward.
Oh man, there's so many little. It's those little tiny mechanics, isn't it?
There
change
is
the dynamic of the game, and like we were looking at it, thinking, well, hang on, if our opposition have still only got one central striker in that situation, like, could we risk? Like, if we really had to go for it, could we risk going 3 at the back? Because 3 versus 1 is
still
like,
outnumbering.
4 versus 1, we're still outnumbering them. So
or
it is
using
trying
libero,
to weigh
so
those risk and rewards up, and thinking, well, when do we roll the dice? And
exactly, yeah.
Last week was talking points because of that. So it's.
But that's the thing, is knowing when to, knowing your system as well. What are the strengths of your system, and how the players are playing in your system. Like we said, if you're attacking narrow and the opposition's got a man sent off, and you know that you're going to keep going narrow, then just try and spread it. And again, it might not even be changing your attacking width. It might be changing. This is where you have to know your system. It might be changing an inside forward to a winger. So it might not even just be changing the attacking width, but it's just knowing your system. If you're using 2 wingers with fairly narrow, then just try and stretch the pitch. If you're using 2 inside forwards, maybe change them into wingers and ask them to cut inside with the ball. At least they're staying wider, but when they get the ball, you still have that sort of inside forward feel. And then that's when you can have runners in between them. And that's sort of more numbers. So if you have 2 wingers, now you can get 2 central midfielders to go up. That could be 5 in attack rather than 2 inside forwards and 1 tacker. That's sort of just 3. And then you've got the rest just supporting them.
And your complete wing back on the outside.
Yeah,
Look at all this space around here. And I've got another question for you that may or may not have come from this week's streams. What do you do when you just get absolutely battered and nothing seems to work? Like in one match? Like
I've had those games. Like, it's just, I don't know. Sometimes it's just nothing you can do. So like I remember, like I was playing Fulham.
Context. I'll give you context, right? Just so you can sort of like get right. So we were playing Atramitos.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, with all due respect to them, they're kind of in the bottom half of the table and they're normally there. Okay. We lost to them at the start of the season, 1-0, 2-1 or something like that. And I'm like, oh, it's a bit of a surprise. Wasn't expecting that. And then last night, they beat us 6-1. And do you want to know what the match stats were, Aaron? Right? Because you'd expected 6-1 that we've,
I've got
had nothing, right? And it's not an FMing. It's not an FMing where like I've had everything and they've only had 6 shots. Yeah. They had 16 shots. Oof. We had 19. They had 9 shots on target. We had 5. Their XG was 3.28. Ours was 2.25. Possession, we had 52% of the ball.
That just sounds like an open game. That just sounds like it was just completely open.
Oh, it was on first on match of the day, that's for certain. But it was
I guess you could just get those bogey teams as well. So I was going to say that I remember just playing Fulham and it was just like, I don't understand. Like you can, it's not even that thing of, well, I won 6-0 last game, I should be winning this game. But it's just like the form leading up to that, which is like, there's no warning signs in the matches, like, and how we're playing. It's just like complete domination. Then you play Fulham and it's just like, they're doing something. My team just don't know what to do. And I was trying to watch up to it. So it was throw-ins, basically. It was throw-ins. They had 3 throw-ins. They scored from all 3 throw-ins. But something was leading up to those throw-ins, obviously, because the match momentum, each time they scored, it was Umi. Then there was like a little flip, throw-in, goal. So it was like they were doing something that got them to get further forward, get into those wider areas, get that throw in the first place. And then, because I did read, I don't know, in Football Manager, the highlight needs to start from somewhere, basically. So,
exactly,
do you know what I mean? So, So it wasn't necessarily, oh my God, we can't defend throw-ins. There was something leading up to those throw-ins that we just could not deal with.
Bit you don't see as well. What's led ball going out of play.
So that's why I was just going back. That's why I was going backwards. And it was just, it looked like they were just attacking my flanks, but it just seemed like they were getting through too easily. Like, I'm sure other teams were trying to attack down the flanks, but for some reason, for Fulham, my team just didn't know what to do. And it wasn't like they got like that one player with 18 acceleration, 18 pace. Like Wilson's on 13, 14 acceleration pace. Willian is definitely not fast. So the wide players are not like, I just don't know. I don't know what happened, but Fulham, fair play to them. They just obviously knew something about us that they could exploit, and they just did it.
I think that's the thing, innit? As you say, it's like bogey teams or a thing. That's an episode on itself as well, isn't it? Bogey teams. How do you deal with that? When they get in your head and you're trying to work it out. Yeah. We've beaten AAK 3-0 the match before, by the way. So that's probably part of it. We're going in like Billy Big Bollocks. And then
I don't know if you get this feeling, like when you're against your bogey team and you go 1-0 up and then you miss, you're like, yeah, they're coming. You know they're coming. You're just sitting there just waiting.
We had a shocker. I think it was against Volosh, the team that we beat on the last day of the season to get into Europe. We went 3-1 down to them. Oof. And we went 2-0 down. We pulled it back to 2-2.
Yeah.
Then they went straight down and made it 3-2. Because of course, as soon as we equalised, they went straight back down. And then we like peppered their goal for the remainder of the match. Like it was just like pew, 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 like keepers like Elastic Man, like 19 arms, saving everything. I'm like, well, it's just not our day. And then I'm busy like ranting and raving on the stream.
Yeah.
And somehow we get a penalty. 94 minutes. I didn't see it. I didn't see it at all. I'm busy going, I can't believe it's happening. It's ridiculous. And then everyone's going, there's a penalty. I'm like, oh, there's a penalty. 94 minutes. Great. Kuziazari's got it. This should be fine. And then what he did was just passed it straight to the goalkeeper. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me at that point?
I don't know. If you got these weird feelings, I wonder if it's just that time to do something quirky. Like, I've got a penalty, like, you know what? I'm just going to put my centre back on this because if he misses, he misses. I just don't want my striker to miss this.
But I didn't even have time to.
Yeah, you didn't even realise
that a penalty had even happened. So even if I did try to change it, the game
it was too late. Yeah,
highlight wouldn't kick in. So Kuziazari steps up. Money's like he's got far too much money in his shorts, so clearly that's like how he can't kick it at that point. But I was just like, oh, it's not what I was expecting either. So I had a couple of weird results, but it's mostly been pretty good in Greece. I had one very, very interesting match, Aaron, and I've put it out on Twitter and I've talked about it a lot. In the Euro Conference League, we came up against one of our old acquaintances.
Ooh.
Odds Ball Club in Norway.
No way.
Yeah. So for those people who don't know, 2 years ago now, I think it might have been, I ended up being the quote-unquote official football manager player for Odds Ball Club in Norway, home of Tommy Svindal Larsen, okay? They have an esports division, FIFA, F1, and I'm sort of like talking to someone from the club on the stream who's genuine, by the way, as well. And it's not just another one of these like examples where I've given money to a stranger and hope for the best. Like this was like, it turns out he's legit. And again, I was unsure about that at the time, but we got invited in to sort of like chat to the club and stuff, and they were like, "Oh, well, you know, we can do something." I was like, "All right, cool. This sounds a bit of fun." And we did a proper job interview on YouTube with like Norwegian media, and then I got sent like shirts and like hoodies and stuff. So it was great fun. We had some nice times with them over about a year. Eventually the partnership sort of like stopped, but it's the first time I actually come up against them in FM. So I was like, oh, this is a bit divided longest thing, you know. So I posted it out, going, right, you know, here we are. The chairman of the club like the sort of retweets it, going like, oh, this is going to be great. Odd beat us 3-1. So. Ooh.
Yeah. That was not good.
That's all right. It's all right. It's fine. It's fine. We'll move on. We don't need to win the Euro Conference this league.
Plenty more years left.
Exactly. Plenty more years. One thing that we should talk about, and I'll be honest, I haven't delved into enough, and by enough I mean much, and there's a reason for that, because if I do delve into it, I will lose most of my life. Now, Aaron, the mad scientist, called the mad scientist for an absolute reason, okay? database extraordinaire, retro wonder, loves all of his retro databases. This year, at time of recording, has just brought out his latest masterpiece, the 0708 database. Oof. Now, I'm going to be honest, I've had a look at some of those teams because it's not like the 93-94 one was 100% my era, right? That was like my era of football, yeah? 0102, my era of football manager, champ manager. 98-99, my era, right? 0708, I had to go back and look at some of these teams because I was watching a lot of football at the time, but I forgot just how good some of these teams actually were in 0708. Like, oh man, it's just like, it's a who's who. It's an absolute who's who.
But that's the thing though. That's one thing about these databases that you don't, I'm speaking for myself basically. Yeah. But you don't really spend any time playing. It's all just looking around and and then you press continue and it's just like scout. And then you get this thing where it's just like, I want to sign everyone sort of thing. All of these players like, oh, he's only 2 million? Bring him in sort of thing. And it's just like, this is not how the database is supposed to be played.
No.
Like you do want to kind of get into it and sort of in your own world. But yeah, I start going through squad. I spend about 2 hours, 3 hours just browsing. Browsing.
We did the same. Like, so when we did the 2-year Twitch anniversary last year, like we picked, we managed Sunderland for that one stream. And it was the year that Sunderland got promoted into the Premier League. Yeah. And so it was like Kevin Phillips, Niall Quinn, Mickey Gray, like Peter Reid era, like perfect Sunderland. And we partnered Kevin Phillips with Miroslav Klose.
Oh my God.
So that's not happening in real life, is it?
That's the thing. You just, that's what's going to happen if you do attempt one of those saves. But the link actually to the database and the Patreon, his Patreon will be in the description below. There are some players. I'm looking at the top goal scorers in 2007-08 season. We got Ronaldo on 31 goals. He's obviously going to be great on Football Manager. We got Emmanuel Adebayor on 24 with Fernando Torres. Those 3 players there, I probably wouldn't go first, but number 4 on that list plays for Blackburn Rovers, Roque Santa Cruz. Now, these are the sort of players that make me work. If I see that name, I'm like, that's my... Growing up, those are the players where I'm like,
jam, right?
I want to go outside and be like that. I remember Pedersen as well. Obviously, it's just like, I just want to hit it hard, but I'm not left-footed, so it doesn't make sense.
Man, I feel really, really sorry saying this, but Tottenham had a little player called Dimitar Berbatov at the same time.
Yeah. Berbatov, Berbatov and Keane, the partnership. I mean, they weren't threatening us, so I think it's okay to say they were good. Now,
young Gareth Bale as well.
Kane was rubbish.
So I think they were Gareth Bale. I've just pulled the AC Milan side up. Have a look. Have a listen.
Oh yeah, I saw Kaka and I was like, yep, that's the team there.
Yeah,
but that's the sort of thing. Like I will see Kaka and be like, I want to be AC. And then I start scouting at another team in Serie A. I'm like, I should have just been this team.
Milan's midfield, Seedorf, Kaká, Gattuso and Pirlo, like all 4 of those players are like right up our street, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%.
You know, with R9 up front, Gilardino up front, and Pippo Inzaghi. On a young little Alexander Pato as well.
I wonder if Ronaldo had that. Is that around when Ronaldo had that injury? I remember the football managers. I think it was like nearly every football manager where it's like you start and Ronaldo was just injured. That just used to annoy me.
Yeah,
that guy, oh man, that used to annoy me. And it was just 1 year. Yeah, you just had to wait a very long time to actually use him as well.
Yeah, the tears, however, Aaron, might be in Barcelona.
Ooh.
It's the first year that Henry at Barca, innit?
Yeah.
You know? So you've got a front set up at Barcelona. Messi, Eidiger Johnson. So Messi, Samuel Eto'o, Thierry Henry, Eidiger Johnson, a young Bojan.
But Bojan then as well.
And Ronaldinho.
Oh my God, the players that, oh my days. Wait, I'm just seeing some image. So this means that you get to play with one Roman Riquelme. Oh no, Pablo Aimar. Obviously, Kaká as well, and Ronaldinho. I mean,
Oscar Cardozo, our boy Oscar Cardozo.
Wow, Yaya Touré
at Real Madrid.
Some things you almost forget as well. Curlon, the
seal man. Pingu.
Yeah, you get to do curl on skill one more time as well. Oh my god, yeah, that's just crazy, man.
There's some players out there in it, so I think that's a lot of fun, by the way. And I think we'll try and talk to Matt as well. We'll get him on and chat to it, because it's like it's one of those ones where it sort of needs space to breathe, and you need to sort of like see some of the attributes of these players.
I think I found my team.
Mm-hmm.
I think I found my team. The golden years, Aston Villa. Obviously, Aston Villa. You got Carson. Is that Wilfred Boomer is at the back with Lawson and Melberg, Rio Coco and Barry in midfield. Ashley Young, Abongla Hall would obviously be decent at this time with John Carew. Oh my lord, John Carew.
Martin O'Neill era.
That's Martin O'Neill. Yeah.
Michael also Richards. Ajax up front. Jan Klaas Huntelaar and Luis Suarez.
Oh my god. Yeah, I can hear the amount of people going onto that download link. Mark Schwartz. I mean, oh my days.
Brad Friedel's only 27 at this point.
It's the ages as well that's catching me as well. I saw Pablo Aimar like 27. He's like, he's been that young before?
Yeah, there's some fun to be had there. So as Aaron says, we'll pop the link in the description below. So have a little look at it, download it. And the Patreon shout is there as well. Speaking of Patreons, Aaron, hey, there's a link, isn't there? Huge shout out to everyone who's joined our Patreon this week. So welcome Benjamin Jones, Gregor Harega, Neil Peacock, Ruben Haugsvire, apologies if I've got that one wrong, and Chris Damashenko. I've got that one wrong as well. But Aaron, if other people want to have their names pronounced really badly and be part of the Patreon squad, where can they do it? And more importantly, what can they get?
They better go to patreon.com/the FM Show Pod. That is patreon.com/the FM Show Pod. And on our Patreon, you will be getting some exclusive content. So we will be putting out every month. There will be some bonus episodes out that nobody else gets to see. But it's also a fantastic way, actually, to communicate with us as well. If you have any sort of tactical issues, the Discord is also a great place. But obviously, the Patreon is a bit more, put more personal. It's a bit more personal in the Patreon.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've got so you get an extra episode every single Monday.
Yes,
you get an extra episode that nobody gets. Okay, there's going to become a monthly thing that we're going to work upon. That's going to be something me and Aaron start to break down, and nobody else will get that either. Right? Okay. It's about I reckon the last count I did, I think there's about 30 hours worth of extra content though there on Patreon at the minute, and from the price of how much, Aaron? £3 a month?
Yeah, as little as £3 a month as well. And also as well, with these bonus episodes as well, I forgot to mention, we have been getting some fantastic guests as well. So make sure you come over and check out the guests that we are having on the show.
And of course, you get early access to these public episodes, which will always remain free. There will always be a free public episode every single week. But if you can afford to support us on Patreon, please do. Patreon.com/the FM Show Pod. It's time to say hello to the newest sponsor of the FM Show. Everybody say hello to Full-Time Prints. Full-Time Prints offer a variety of prints to give football fans the chance to remember their favourite football moments forever. They currently offer a range of goals, team sheets, commentary and league tables. Prints are available in A4 through to A1 and can be bought with or without a frame. It makes the perfect gift for occasions such as Christmas, birthdays, Father's Day, Mother's Day, just because presents. Like, seriously, this is the perfect gift for every football fan. You want to go on the website, browse what they've got. They've got so many things to choose from, whether it's teams, European teams, international teams, moments that happen. And if you can't find something you like, you can even do a custom request. You can create anything you've seen yourself. Maybe you've seen a goal you want to relive. You can have that. Maybe you want to relive the first match you ever attended. Or maybe, if you're a Football Manager fan, you might want to do a custom one just designed for Football Manager that immortalizes your save forever. You can have a print done that has all your trophies, the entirety of the save, the key moments. Maybe you want to relive the Champions League final and have your team sheet and everything on there. You can do that with Full-Time Prints. I'm thinking about getting myself one, and I'm going to put it right behind my head in my office just behind here. And as a little sweetener for you, we've got a little bit of discount to help you out here. So use the code TheFMShow. We'll get you 10% off your entire order. Go to fulltimeprints.com. Use the discount code TheFMShow. That's 10% off your entire order. And there's free shipping on orders over 50 quid. So go get yourself a full-time print. Immortalize that Football Manager save. Let us know what you've got. Visit fulltimeprints.com. Use the discount code TheFMShow. Get yourself 10% off. And remember, free shipping on orders over 50 quid. So, last week, Aaron, we touched upon it already, okay? We had an episode based upon the question of, do match ratings really matter? And when do you make substitutes? And of course, nobody really responded to any of that, did they? They just let that go past. They went, oh, that's a really good question, lads. Never really thought about
it. That reminds me of a few years ago when we used to be with the tactic garage. Is like, send us a tactic, but more importantly, tell us what's wrong with it. And people were just like, here's my tactic. Just like, it looks good to me.
Yeah, well, I got a few responses because I was talking about it on stream the week that the episode came out, and I was like saying, look, you know, when do we make subs? And majority of people that I've been looking at here were saying. So Jordan said, as soon as we're three or more goals up after 60 minutes, the kids come on. I was like, interesting. Dan the Dazzler says kids no later than 70. So everyone's thinking about bringing the youth in to get the reps and the minutes. Ian says 63rd minute injuries or yellow cards get replaced, presumably. So you just keep someone who's got an injury until the 63rd minute, then you bring them off. So he hasn't been able to run it off at all.
Yeah. 7 more minutes, lads.
That is quite broken, but it's still only 50 minutes. Sorry. 70 minutes, bring fresh legs on, or the kids. So again, looking at the idea of stamina.
Yeah.
And then we also got more likely to sub youngsters into attacking roles late in the game. Sometimes they catch fire for a moment and impress, but too nervous about adding youth in defending roles late in games. That's from Dan Crizzes. That's a fair point, in it. That's that. You were saying about me changing centre-backs. Mm-hmm. Imagine putting a 17-year-old centre-back in, Aaron, when you're 3-0 up going, go on, mate, go and get yourself go and keep a clean sheet.
The only way I'm throwing on a young player like that in those sort of areas is you've got to be Sergio Busquets. You've got to have the ultimate composure from the day you was born. But I think there's I think, though, it's more, though, like in defence, there's no room for mistakes and you have to be always switched on. So I think with defending it tends to eat up your sort of concentration levels, your decision, anticipation. And these are attributes that kind of come with experience, especially anticipation, learning how to read the game. You don't just, obviously not everyone, but generally speaking, you don't just have that automatically. So putting a defender on and you're trying to keep a result, but then you brought on someone that can't really game. Look, it doesn't make a wing back, fullback. I guess it makes sense. That's sort of your fresh layers, especially a young, fast player. He actually might give you something as well. But centre back, defensive midfield, definitely no. Though that little triangle there, that little triangle, DM and centre back,
little Bermuda triangle, you're not touching it.
If I'm using a double pivot, this is what I mean. It's always about the situation. If I'm using a double pivot, then I'm like, all right, go on. You've got Makalele next to you.
This was the point I was kind of hoping you'd almost walk into, and you've done it just there. What about if that young player is going to be partnered next to his mentor?
Yeah.
Is there anything in that possibly that maybe he can help coach him through those last 10 minutes?
Yeah, 100%. And that could be my new next challenge sort of thing or experiment. I'm going to try and have a mentor. So like a DM mentor, another DM. And then try and have them play with each other.
Mentors in
play
there.
together. Wait, whoa, take it back, nice. They're going to play together. And then see if that has any sort of effect. If I can get the green links quicker or anything like that, maybe, I don't know. You just never know with these things until you try it out in Football Manager. You just never know.
Got to be. If anyone's got any ideas about whether it works or not, do feel free to let us know.
Randomly, I don't know why this just popped up my head. I'm sorry, people. This is just so random, but it made me laugh. There's a guy who had Messi, and he was happy that he got injured. So he loved the realism of it. So his player got the Achilles injury, 6 months, Messi out, 6 months. He comes back and then gets blisters in his foot. And the person was like, that is amazing. So realistic. I'm like, Messi's injured, man. The world is over. It's about to end and you're talking about amazing.
I mean,
that is funny. It is genuinely amazing. I don't know if it was like coincidental or obviously I think if you do come back from a longer injury, you still have that high injury risk sort of thing. So you can pick up little niggles. Yeah. It was funny though. It was just like he was so chuffed about how realistic it was. It's like you almost forgot that he's Messi, his best player, is injured again.
Like people be like with viruses and he's out again going, yeah, you are susceptible. Your immune system's weaker after a couple of viruses. So yeah, you will do that. Yeah. He broke his leg. Oh, hope it doesn't get gangrene. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was that. I don't know why. Sorry, that is so random, but it just made me laugh.
I like blisters as well. I like how, like, I mean, again,
it's so specific. He's
not worn his boots for a little while. He's just like, first thing you'd do is make sure you've got 2 pairs of socks on, wouldn't you? You wouldn't be going straight out.
It's the little things that people find enjoyment. This is what, like, we play Football Manager for different reasons, and for the person to find the fun and in that, it's just amazing because I know my head will be gone. My head is the opposite. He just come back from an in. That's my head. That's my head. In his head, it's like
cut his feet off.
Yeah, he's like, whoever coded this into the game is fucking amazing. Language.
Oh no, never mind. There's the PG rating gone. Yeah. I thought it would have been me that did it.
I'm sorry, YouTube. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. While you're in angry mode, right? Okay. You obviously last week you made people get in touch and respond to the questions. This week, I think this might be the new thing. You know, just like use you as like a little wind up clock. Yeah. Just like wind you up, then let you go on Twitter and just see like what happens.
The first time was sort of organic as well. Like it wasn't for the show. It was just like, oh, everyone's responding to this. I'm using this for the show. This week was more so, okay, if we get some good answers, this is definitely going on the show.
Yeah. So do you want to go into to what we've been looking at then? What was the tweet? And then we'll go through the hundreds of responses that it got.
So my tweet, this time I made sure I worded it good as well. I remember last week I regretted the wording, but what formation system on FM24 are you scared to even touch? 3 at the back is growing on me, but looking at the 5-2-1-2 on the tactic creator screen, that's just a big no for me. Will not be attempting to use that anytime soon. So for the viewers and listeners as well, before we start getting into it, you can pause quickly and type down if there's any formation or system that you're scared to touch or you just genuinely won't go near them.
Yeah, that one there, that 5-2-1-2. Like I like the so okay. I'm going to clarify something before we go into all this. Okay.
Yes.
I probably have used a 5-2-1-2 successfully before. Okay. But it was a pain in the backside to make it work, and I wouldn't use it again. And some of the responses that you got were along the lines of, well, I've used 3 at the back and it's fine. And as with everything, it's situational. It depends upon your team. It depends upon your players. It depends upon the league. Oh, what was that word that phrase we had last week, Aaron? Oh, it depends. Right? Okay, so it all comes back to it depends. I had a 5-2-1-2 when we did the Sheffield Wednesday challenge. Remember that?
Yeah.
So that's what I was playing. I played 3 centre-backs. I had 2 actual wing-backs. I had 2 in my pivot. I had 1 up in the shadow striker role, and I had 2 up top. So that's me doing what I believe could be interpreted as a 5-2-1-2. Yeah. Some would say that's a 3-5-1-2 or 3-4-3. It's all numbers. It's all about interpretation.
2 numbers, yeah.
Like, what would you say that? I feel as though that's a 5-2-1-2.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. And I'm just looking at a 5-2, or what Football Manager calls a 5-2-1-2 DM AM in Football Manager, which is just 3 centre backs. Then you've got 2 holding midfielders with 2 wing backs, and then you've got the attacking midfielder and 2 strikers. Now, the one reason why this scares me, I liked my very well balanced tactic. So I like not for positions to be spread out, but I don't like obvious gaps and areas. It's free. And with the 5-2-1-2, of course, with the 2 strikers. And the no wingers, obviously the wide areas, which is not the big issue because a 3 what formation was it? Inter Milan's 3-1, whatever it is. But it's fairly good for me, but that's because it plugs sort of a hole in the DM area and then it feels like the CMs push up more. So I think that's how I kind of got used to that. But in this, it just feels like there's too much of a gap between the attacking midfielder and DMs, but then also the spaces out wide. And I just feel like if I was the opposition, I just feel like I can just look at this formation and be like, look, I'm going to try and exploit this wide. You know what I mean? And even like the wing backs. So like the wing backs are not intact with the back line all the time. Mm-hmm. So even that there could be space to exploit behind the fullback, in front of the fullback, and then obviously the space in between the DMs and the attacking midfielders. Now that's the reason why, for me, I just don't even go to it, because when I start looking at player roles, it's just like, what player roles can I link here? Like, how can I make these sort of things link? How can I get wider players to link up? Like, who's going to link up with the right wing back? It's going to have to be one of the strikers, but do I want one of the strikers to leave the two up top sort of thing? So actually, this is where I get a headache. I'm like, I'm not even going to attempt that.
So what I did in that scenario, and I'm going to try and remember it off the top of my head, because obviously I don't have the file right in front of me. But where I had, because you've mentioned straight away that gap. So you've got your DMs, the gap, and then your AM, right? Now, already, the second I created that, I could see my assistant manager screaming, "We're being overrun in the midfield!" Like, because essentially, like, you are, like, you've just got two centre midfielders going, "Where's the other guy? Like, why are they all the way up there?" The roles that I found that were quite useful, and I had to rotate them depending upon whether I was at home, whether I was away.
Yeah, see.
So again, this is why I'm saying about it depends with the tactics and the formations. This was back in FM23, I believe, maybe 22. Segundo Volante used to work quite nicely with a halfback.
I think he still does.
That's pretty good, but it worked so well.
Yeah. I think
like the halfback moves a little bit more now, I think, and obviously with three at the back, you don't quite get the exact way that the halfback used to work. Because obviously, like, remember my Celtic tactic from last year, that three at the back.
Yeah,
last year they had the halfback dropping in when the wide centre back went out. Yeah,
oh yeah.
It doesn't quite plug into FM24 the same way it did in FM23. Because I had that with this Sheffield Wednesday one. The halfback would drop, the wide centre back would go out to cover, and the Volante would be the guy just pinging the ball up towards the target for, because I think one of their strikers was like 6'4" or something. So I'd get him pinging up there. But alternatively, Barry Ballon d'Or was a deep line playmaker if I had him as a single pivot with two central midfielders in front.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So I wonder if, because of the translation from FM22 or 23 to this one, I do wonder though, because now positional play, if there was another role affecting it. I can't remember the tactic off by heart, but I only say that because I've got this, I was working on a tactic in South Africa. It's a diamond tactic, but I was using the Ganche. And it's like, during the highlights, it's like, my Ganche is just always to the left. Like, what's going on? He's always to the left. And it's like, I remember posting up and then people were like, how you finding Ganche? I'm like, mine's amazing. He's supposed to hold his position, but he's just finding different pockets. And his performance has increased massively. And I've realized it's because behind. So I was trying to work it out like, it must be because I've got the DLF on the right. So he drops and then he shifts to the left, which we did see sometimes. But that's mainly during key highlights. When you do watch it, and someone pointed it out to me on Twitter as well, because first I said it's the DLF. And then someone said, no, positional play, because you've got the Mazzala on the right. He's going forward, which then makes your thing. Obviously, I knew that before, but it was just like, I just wasn't concentrating. Like, you just don't concentrate all the time on these little things. Just that little thing there makes a big difference. Now, I could change that Mazzala to a CM on support, and then straight away, my diamond is a diamond. Yeah. But now with the Mazzala, it's just like, we're just creating all different patterns. And what I did like as well is that, I remember saying that I thought it was the DLF. And what often as well, sometimes what happens is the DLF drops. So that's his role on support. And then you've got the Mazzala who is a channel runner and he gets further forward. And then you get that little nice overlap as well. So it's just getting some nice little things, just like, this tactic is moving. This tactic is moving.
It's like a Rubik's Cube, isn't it? It's
a
Rubik's Cube. One piece changes and it changes the dynamic completely.
And just like certain roles, and like people like, I don't use DLF, blah, 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 blah. They're not effective. It's probably not effective in the way that you're trying to use it. Again, going back to how people just have a tactic and then just start changing roles, but not really thinking about. Yeah. So they could just be like, I want my striker to drop deep and it's going to DLF, but he's not really thinking about how do you get the ball to that DLF? What does he do with it once he gets the ball?
Exactly. Can he actually, you want him to do?
Yeah. Can he actually lay it off and sprint back into the box, or does he have to lay it, or does he have to receive it, hold, wait for people, then pass it? By the time he gets to a winger, it's probably too late for him to get into the box, sort of thing. So.
Also, as well, if he's dropped deep, have you got players running beyond him?
Yeah, that's like these sort of things. If you've got
wingers on support, like I loved the complete forward in last year's game. Like last year's match engine was perfect. I had a brilliant. Again, the player helped because he had all the traits and all the attributes required to do what I wanted him to do. Like he was a complete forward who would come to the halfway line to pick the ball up, to play little triangles with the winger, but then he'd get on his bike and he'd be at the back post. And when he got there, he was 6'5", right? To head the ball in. Like he was just a physical presence, 21 years old, energetic. He could do all of that good stuff. Like, But if I try to do it with someone who is maybe 29 and his off the ball maybe isn't as good, or his decision making is not as good, then all of a sudden it's not really going to be as effective. Like you're going to have to look. Harry Kane, I hate to use it. I guess Harry Kane is kind of the perfect example. People sometimes try to work out what the best role for Harry Kane is because of all the attributes he's got, and all the things he can do. And it's like, right, well, is he elite at that bit? No, he's not quite elite at that. He's good at that bit. Right, well, that means he can't be that. Like, because if he's going to be that, he has to be elite at X, Y, and Z. You know?
Even I'm looking at Harry Kane's profile now as well. And for me, I just go, I think a deep line forward or complete forward, and then just try and have a system around him. That's how I would go.
But even someone like Harry Kane, making him a complete forward, because that's how I envisage him. I envisage him as a proper old-fashioned number 9. But that man scored 50 goals. Like,
exactly.
Why is he coming deep? If you have him coming deep, you're taking 50 goals out from the top. You're halving his goal contribution straight away. So it's like, you could do that, but don't complain when he's not scoring. If you want him in the box to put the ball away, he can do that as well.
Yeah, also make sure you just have the system. It's just the system thing is it's very important, I think you can make many roles work in the game, if that makes sense. I know like some people have this theory that certain roles are better than others or blah, 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 blah. Maybe it's true, but maybe there's just certain roles that are more generic and don't really require the speciality of certain players. Like inverted wingback. That role there is so demanding. That's one role I don't sub. Like I can't imagine me subbing off, like if I'm using Kyle Walker as an inverted wingback and the amount of jobs that he has to do, and then bringing on someone fresh, and then he has to kind of get up to the speed of the game, because it's a very important role in the system, because he has to act like a fullback, a defensive midfielder, this and that. And it's just like, it's one of the roles I wouldn't necessarily tweak. And it's not a role that I would just put, I'm just using inverted wingback, I just throw anyone in there. Absolutely not. Like, you have to be at a certain quality. You have to be able to control the ball, pass the ball, because essentially you are going into midfield. And you have to be able to read the game.
You're absolutely right. Like, because there's not like for like changes in all positions. These are all, as I say, these are all particular. Some things are particular to a particular player.
So advanced forward, you can kind of say that's more generic, right? If you've got someone that's got good off the ball and pace, you can kind of just
acceleration.
And the thing is that to cause trouble, I think the pace and off the ball movement is just enough just to cause trouble. So it might not get you 50 goals, but it's going to cause you trouble. Whereas not anyone could just be a complete forward. You know what I mean? Like the triggers, the right time to drop, the right time to do this, the right time to do that. Not anyone can do that. And again, it's one of the things that I've seen people do on, like, when they're doing their tactics, or they're playing a weaker team and they're like, okay, now I'm going to rotate. But they're rotating with a weaker player at complete forward in these very specialized roles where you actually need the good attributes in these roles.
Or putting players on, like bringing a player on who clearly says they're a deep lying forward and going, I'll play him as advanced, and you're like, that's not going to work.
Yeah,
Because he naturally wants to play deeper, and you're making him play higher up.
It's like Alvarez. Like when I'm testing him with Manchester City, it's like Alvarez, because he has come deep to get ball, that automatically changes the way my advanced forward is going to be. So I know it doesn't really make sense, but if Haaland needs a rest, I'm going for Jeremy Doku, because I just know, because I'm using that sort of role where he's on the last man and he moves into channel and he gets in behind. Alvarez is just going to ruin what I have pictured, because when I'm trying to build forward, he's going to come deep to get the ball. In some cases, it might not actually be bad, but it's not what I want. So most time I just put him on the wing, on support, where he can still come deep and get the ball.
That's the thing. You can almost, if you've got a pressing forward on attack, I'm about to realize that there's people about to start getting angry typing here. You could almost, in that situation, if you have a pressing forward on attack, you could theoretically put a winger in that position, a proper winger, an attacking winger can just go in that position and do exactly what a pressing forward on attack would do, because they're going to go wide, they're going to run the channels, they're going to probably be pacey, they're going to probably have decent dribbling, decent crossing, and they're going to have decent decision making. So you could kind of do a job and then allow someone else. So if you then got a DLF, then you play in the DLF. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
You're
so my tactic is actually a pressing forward. So it's not advanced. I keep saying advanced forward. I don't know why, but it's effectively the same thing, but obviously one's more aggressive and demands less when making those runs and whatever. But you're now making a point. Now I'm like, okay, this might be actually why Jeremy Doku's playing very good up front then. Because now I'm looking at his attributes, is like, wait, he's actually got aggression, he's got bravery, he's got work rate and teamwork. And this is likely coming from the fact that he plays on the wing and he isn't someone that just stays up there. He is someone that tracks back and does his defensive work. So, feel that word, in theory, playing him as a pressing forward, it can work. And it has been working. Of course, the quality of the team, and he is getting the supply and whatever up top, but he still can do the job because of his attributes. He's not going to be bad at all.
Sometimes needs must. That's what it's got to be, you know? Wow. So in terms of the question, Aaron, is there anything that sends shivers down your spine? You say this 5-2-1-2, right? It sends shivers down your spine. What else? What else is there?
Well, I'm going to read what other people are saying, and other people are sort of on the same wavelength. So three at the back seems to be one of those things that you either hate it or love it. I used to be someone that really disliked three at the back. And I used to watch FM Girl when she first started streaming, and she never used any. Funny that her comic was 4-3-3. So I'm loading up the stream. I'm loading up streams expecting 4-3-3. So she was in, I'm trying to remember this. She was in Wales. I'm trying to remember the team. That she was
Major, was it?
I think that's the one. Yeah. And it was like, I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, at some point she's going to switch to 4-3-3. Just like throughout the whole thing, which is like the three at the back. Comes the next FM, three at the back. I'm like, see, it's her thing, and that's her comfort zone. Whereas for me, like, I get a bit edgy and sketchy. So when I come to using three at the backs, I tend to just load up one that I've used before that I know the mechanics of, and then I try and then work my way around that rather than a blank page and then just trying to work it out from there. But it's mostly because I'm just not. It's not a system that I go with, and it's not my. I don't get any real great ideas. Most of my ideas is four at the back, and it turns into three at the back. So really, there's sort of less work than getting that shape. But at the same time, it just doesn't hit the same for me, and it's a bit more. What about this and what about that? And using 4-3-3 and 4-2-3-1s and other systems that I just kind of know what to change in certain moments. Whereas, three at the back is that it's a big learning thing. Just always using it.
Is the question? I think we said this before we hit record, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is the question not three at the back? Is the question and the panic coming from whether to have 4 in front or 5 in front? Is that the problem? Because you can have 3 centre backs. Most of us can find 3 centre backs to just about get by. Maybe you want to stick a libero in there just for a bit of fun, right?
Yeah.
But is the problem with a 3 at the back working out what's in front of it?
I think I get scared that I'm losing. It feels like I'm losing attacker. I'm losing an attacker. And I remember watching, I think it was Tuchel's Chelsea. And they were using, so after they've won the Champions League, great. So next season, it was just like watching them, it felt like they've lost a player on the pitch. Like it just felt like so slow, predictable.
Yeah.
And it just felt like they needed the extra body. They weren't putting enough pressure. The momentum wasn't great. But then you watch Xavi Alonso and Inzaghi's through at the back. It's just like, mate, players are moving everywhere. It's so quick. I can't even keep up. But obviously, football tactics evolve and stuff. So I think over time, actually, I think many of us are going to start getting a lot more familiar with the threat at the back. But I just think the way, especially me, like I threat at the back, I'll just go Catenaccio, Italy. That's the sort of thing. Go and then trying to then flip it completely and make it actually we can have a very good positional play and decent press on whatever it is. It's just like it's a difficult process. It's a difficult process at the moment for me. Not all formation, not all three at the back. I would just say 3-4-3. So not with two wingers though, with two attacking midfielders instead. So it's basically a box. So you've got the two DMs, the two attacking midfielders. That works. I can get that. Like that's comfortable for me, and I can start tweaking the two attacking midfielder roles. Which that's where I feel like okay, I got the hang of this one, but any other ones is a bit of a hit and miss for me.
Yeah, let's say last year I had a lot of success with three at the back, two wide defensive wingers, pressing wingers. Of course, I demand that they be called for going forward. The Volante was being the guy that was holding things together with the halfback, and then the complete forward, target forward, and an AM on support, an AM on attack. Possibly, I think it was because the shadow striker was getting in the way. So it was an AM on attack. And that was brilliant. Like, but again, right players, right system. Like, it's the only three at the back I've tried. I tried it this year at Atalanta in the early access. Same tactic, just brought it in, and I was like, it's going to have to be tweaked. I couldn't get it working anywhere near as successful, despite the fact that Atalanta have some probably better players, particularly defensively. They've got much better players than what I had at Celtic. You know, you got Scalvini in there. Like, I couldn't get three at the back working with him. Like, I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing. There's other players in and around it that were the issue. Like, I mean, I don't know, three at the back. It's not that I'm scared of it. It's the fact that I like my brain likes width. Like I like width. Like,
more balance.
I like players getting chalk on their boots or getting out and around. I like a wing back. I mean, I've waxed lyrical in this game cycle. I've said so many times, complete wing back on attack. I love that role. Like there's part of me going, why would I sacrifice that?
And this is the thing.
You have to.
There's gonna be so many players or people just listening to this and like, so why don't you just try using a playmaker? He's gonna come deep. He also gonna drift out wide and all of these things. And it's like, it's a point. It's a point, but it's just like I'm not used to it, so it's still difficult. And when you lose a couple games as well, so you got a picture losing a couple games, you're already in doubt about the system, and it's not a good combination at all. But also what kept popping up as well in the replies to the tweet is 4-4-2s. People can't get 4-4-2s to work. And I wonder if that's more down to modern football. You're simply just got two midfielders sort of thing. But then that don't make sense, does it? Because you got a 4-2-4, which is just a more aggressive 4-4-2.
Yeah. The first response here, a defensive 4-4-2, people are struggling with. Now, again, maybe people don't play 4-4-2s as often as you say. People tend to go to 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, probably more of a common system. I like a 4-4-2, but again, it depends upon who you're managing. Like, if you're doing lower leagues and non-league, I would always suggest to anybody, first thing you should be do, master that 4-4-2 and then start adding players in and changing the way you want to play. It's just easy. It's a natural balance. It's a formation that people are used to playing. Players are used to being in that role. I know there'll be some people who'll be screaming at me going, oh, but you can have a regista in the National League. You can, right? You absolutely can. It's still 4 players. It's like, you know, you pick the roles. You could have 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, and 2 attackers, and it can work. It might not be incredible if you're trying to gegenpress it. Like, it might leave you exposed. But if you're playing direct counter-attack, hey, you know what? It's probably going to work quite well because it's designed to sit and soak a bit of pressure. And get players out wide, wing play.
Yeah.
Wing play, you might want to try a 4-4-2 because why would you not? There's
two
four
wingers.
players that are out wide. Like, you've got your fullbacks and your wing backs. It's probably the time to look to wing play.
Yeah. 4-4-2 is a difficult one though, isn't it? Again, I think we mentioned this last year, and last week, and I guarantee people have gone defensive mentality and straight away cautious or defensive mentality straight away. It's probably something that a lot of people are doing. On top of that, adding cautious roles. You're asking sort of for trouble. So for me, when it comes to sort of creating a defensive 4-4-2, with Football Manager and Tactics, I like to call it like balancing risks. So I would have like a cautious mentality with attacking duties, or I have an attacking duty, but then with a lot of reduced, obviously, player duties. So obviously, people are more reserved and more cautious. In the tactics screen, you can simply just go to a 4-4-2. And one way to do this, actually, so this is actually could be some good advice. So on your tactics screen, actually, just set up a 4-4-2 or whatever formation you want in the thing. Make sure you got mentality. Just pull it on attacking or defensive, cautious, whatever it is. Make sure you change that mentality first, or attacking, and then start going into individual players and looking at the players' individual mentality. And that sort of will deter or tell you how that player is going to be looking to play. So, for an example, on attacking mentality, the central midfielder on defend, his mentality is balanced. So he's not going to be attacking. Now, if you can sort of fill in more attacking or more balanced mentalities in there, already you've reduced the attacking threat of your tactic. Really, you're no longer attacking with throwing bodies forward. No, because my centre-backs are going to be staying back. My centre midfielder is going to be staying back. Depending on what I'll do, my full-backs, they can be staying back. And that's what it is. But obviously with attacking mentality, the starting positions may just be a tad higher. Or you can go to cautious mentality, have a look at some of the player roles. So let's say you want your attacker to be sort of your, I say rest attack. So basically when you're defending and you win the ball, who you're going to look for? That should be sort of someone on the attacking duty, your outlet. If I look at a winger on cautious mentality, he's only on positive. So he's not that much of a threat. If I change him to attacking, he still stays positive. So you kind of got to, again, now that's using cautious mentality. Knowing that now my winger, the most aggressive he's going to be is on positive, I'm not going to get much out of him, really. So that's sort of the balancing risk that you kind of have to do in your game, sort of, when you're trying to create a defensive 4-4-2 especially. So that's sort of a good thing. And that's sort of some good advice. I did notice that myself. I didn't realize how actually low the winger's mentality will be on cautious. That's fairly cautious. So you can kind of picture already your defend 4, midfield 4, depending on your striker's duties now, because many of us maybe just using 2 attacking duties. You can just picture your defense there, midfield there, 2 strikers up there. That just causes not only issues in possession, but out of possession as well. So
yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's 100% it, man. It's like, and it's tweak as well. Like, it's not going to work. From day one, it's not going to work. The question is, I suppose with everything, I'm about to get massively philosophical here as well. What do you want from a tactic?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like what do you define a working tactic? Like, do you want a tactic that wins the league every single season? Is that what you class as a working tactic? Is it a tactic that gets you reasonable performances? Is it one that gets you reasonable results? Is it one that has an air of realism? Like, you know, if you're making a tactic for Luton, you want a tactic that's going to keep you in the division, right? Without being like, you know, disrespectful to anybody, that should be your first tactic. Should be, right, what keeps me in the Premier League? It shouldn't be, right, what topples Man City. You probably haven't got the players to do that. Like,
exactly.
No tactic is gonna be the out the box answer that you need it to be, and it's all pieces of a puzzle. You know, you can't have one without the other. It builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and these tactics evolve. And you know what might work for, I guess we've all got that superstition, isn't it? Or like, oh, the AI's worked my tactic out. It might have done. Maybe your player's gone off the boil. Maybe your player's legs have gone. Maybe other players around are sort of losing a bit of interest in it. Maybe you've tried to learn a new trait and it doesn't work now. Like, or you've tweaked something and you've went, oh yeah, we've been balanced all year, we'll go positive now, and the players, something's just offset. Like, I mean, so many things that can go right and wrong with it.
Could be a decent episode, you know. Do the AI actually work your tactic out?
Oh, that'll get us a lot of hits.
Because I would just say no. I think there's certain things in the game that makes things change, but I don't think they necessarily, he's using, or they could be. And if they do, I don't actually see anything wrong because they have an analyst for a reason. They have a scout for a reason. That they're supposed to use these people at their clubs, and those people are supposed to be giving them the information. But on when it comes to that sort of the AI assessment tactic, and it doesn't really apply to those who are Manchester City, and then after 20 games, it usually is those people that start us as underdogs, and then win. Now they're a good team. Their performance suddenly drops off a little bit, and for me, the obvious answer for me would be that AI is now more cautious of you. They haven't sussed you out, but your reputation is growing. If I walk into the Premier League tomorrow, ain't no coach know what I'm about. So that's just gonna be like, this could be 3 points here, and then just attack me basically. But then if I start winning games, the coaches all of a sudden be like, okay, yeah. So we've got to be a bit cautious because his team's strong at that and his team's strong at this. We've got to be a bit cautious in this area. And I think that's exactly what the AI does. Like, you start off in the game, not all of us start off with this great reputation. Some of us do start based on our club. And then as you work your way up, your reputation will grow. Other managers will become aware of that and start approaching you differently. And it might not even be your reputation. It could just be your team, or it could just be your form. If you're winning 10 in a row, then don't expect every team to start, we're just going to keep attacking. No, we're going to...
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
the AI should react to that and be like, you know what, I'm going to be a bit more cautious sort of thing. And then now you have to try and break us down. And I think that's what it is. And obviously, then again, that's where the problem again becomes, where the patience, this tactic worked before, I'm not going to change, blah, 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 blah. You draw 3 or lose 3 in a row and you become a bit upset. But I wouldn't necessarily say that AI clock your tactics. And if they did, I would love that, because they have analysts and people working for them doing that.
I would like that as well, actually, because then again, it does justify those roles and those within the game, staff roles and stuff.
And AI sussing your tactic doesn't mean that they're going to win. Like, I know Manchester City's tactics. It doesn't mean that I could just set up a team full of Tonys and Steves and just suddenly win a game. Because I know how Man City play.
That's the thing. Like, everybody knows 100% how the top teams are going to play. It's playing against it. It's counter-attacking it. That's the question, isn't it? Like,
all right, I know this winger's good, but he's bloody fast and I'm not fast, so...
Hey, can you believe it? They kept putting the ball to Haaland every single time. They gave him a chance in front of the goal. They didn't bother giving it to the defenders.
Man marking's just not working here at all.
We gave them loads of space and they exploited it.
But a lot of this as well, though, like, I keep saying I'm referring to other people, but a lot of it is down from experience, that personal experience. That I haven't played FM Football Manager with the exact same approach from when I first started. Otherwise, I'll be saving and reloading. that was my way from young. But when you start learning the tactics and start learning things and start getting familiar with certain things, then things can start to become easier, and be more open as well to different approaches as well can be helpful. And try and actually find out what things mean. Don't have your own interpretation. Do go to the forum site where I believe their online manual is. Look at the team tactical stuff and find out what attacking width and what passing space means, rather than having your own idea and then getting frustrated that they're not doing that because of what your idea was.
There's a lot of information available to us. We just have to go looking for it, don't we?
The SI forum, I keep mentioning it. It's like my favorite place. But that place there's some great people on there. There is great people on there. Like, if you do have an issue with a tactic or whatever, or you just want a tactical discussion, then there is some great people on there that will happily discuss or happily help you with your tactic. And again, this is where I start learning things as well, because there is people like Rashidi or Buster Net, whatever some people refer him to, will say something and I'll be like, duh. I mean, like, duh. Then,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah, then like,
So you go back and sit and go, yeah, he's right, actually.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah. I'm going to record a video, act like it was my idea.
But you know, like we say it every single time, we all upskill. Like, we all level up. Every episode. Every episode, there's something to take away from the show where we've learned something. I've learned something. Like, you've learned something. Like, that's what it's about. It's shared knowledge. And we all get better.
There's multiple ways to get the same result. So, for an example, earlier we spoke about getting through balls into Haaland. There's multiple different ways. You don't have to do it the way that I did in going individual. I didn't take more risk and whatever, blah, 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 blah. There is different ways of getting through balls into Haaland. Maybe your way is passing to space, but how your system is, because mine is attacking, passing to space just adds more risk, add more risk. I want to be very possessional based. It didn't make sense. But for you, you might just be counter-attacking. You might be balanced or positive mentality, whatever it is, but aren't looking to keep the ball for moments or periods. You're literally just knocking on that door. You just want through ball after through ball, lose the ball, but guess what? We've got a counter press. Win that through ball. That might be your idea. So there can be multiple ways of getting that sort of same result.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, two things we need to think of at this point, right? Firstly, get in touch with what we've just talked about. Yeah. Comment below any tactics that scare you, any roles that you want a bit of clarification on. If you're part of the Patreon, you know, send us your tactic. You know, you've got that as part of your Patreon stuff. We can bring the Tactics Garage back. You know, if people go, look, this is what I've got. We've listened to the episode. You mentioned X, Y, and Z. Right. Can we get a bit of clarification here? I've played this tactic for 12 games. This role isn't working. What do I do with it? Like, send the tactics in for the Tactics Garage. The FM show pod at gmail.com. Do that. We'll do episodes on the Tactics Garage. Okay. One thing that we have been asked on Twitter, we both got tagged in this, Aaron, from Adida FM, Tony Jameson and RDF Tactics. If you were to create a tactic using this Sunderland goal as a reference point, how would you do it? Now, we're going to put a link to the tweet, actually, the link to the goal in the podcast description. An incredible goal, by the way. Jack Clark's goal for Sunderland against Reading. It was total Mowbray ball, really. Yeah. It was just lovely, quick transition play, short passing, expressive, pass into space.
Yeah.
How could you recreate that style of play in FM? Aaron, I'm going to come to you first because I've sort of done what I believe is quite a similar tactic to how Sunderland would have played at the time and how I would approach it.
Yeah.
So I'll come to you first.
So I'm looking at the goal now. So obviously I'll have a super keeper on attack. For that to be effective, actually, you should be using a more positive mentality. So it could be a positive or attacking. Then your super keeper will really look to play out from the back because he's trying to be risky in possession. Yeah. And I'm just going through the clip. So he passes it to the centre back. The centre back plays it into the midfielder. Midfielder is dropping. So one thing that I did notice about this goal, there's a lot of dropping movements.
Yeah.
So the winger drops, the striker drops. The midfielder kind of shifts over rather than drop. So I don't know. I think I'll go with a lot of supportive duties down that right-hand side. I think I'm going to go wing back on support. I think everyone on that side is going to be a support. So wing back on the DLP will be a DLP. The DM will be a DLP. You can choose whether DM or support. That's very difficult to judge from that clip. Then I have a wing back on support, so just someone that can stretch the pitch during the build-up.
Yeah.
Probably have a right winger on support, maybe. Yeah, maybe on him on support. So I was going to say, yeah, so I was going to say support so he can try and look for those first-time passes, but a winger on any duty will have dribble more anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think, again, that might be down to more of your preference, but I think I will have the Mazzala on support and then the forward. So I'm going to have complete forward on support only because he's moved from that central role and seemed to have roamed over to the wider areas. So he's come into a pocket towards play rather than away from play. Then for Jack Clark, inside forward on attack, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. See, I think the only roles that I would have as different, I think I think advanced forward rather than complete forward.
Yeah.
Only because of the fact that I knew how Sunderland played at the time, and like Diallo was like just the out point.
Yeah.
But in my games, because my 4-3-3 is quite similar to how this works, I have a pressing forward, but I think an advanced forward for me would be the one. I prefer a winger on attack on the right because my wing back is on support, and on the other side, I want my inside forward on support coming in. And my wing back on attack going out. And I think that's where Clark gets that late run because he's on support. He's not already in the box.
Do you think that wing back on support is a bit of a trick? Because like you just said, you would have the wing back the wing on attack because the wing back on support. I'm guessing obviously you want one person penetrating and one person's kind of supporting.
So the winger to get to the byline, and the wing back to come behind.
So with wingers, I always go automatic. Mainly because if I want the wing back to support, I go automatic because on support, it is hard coded for him to get further forward. So it's hard for him to kind of support play if he has to get further forward. So it could be one way to actually create an effective overload to have both your right wingers.
Actually. I do have it on automatic.
Yeah, I love
we
the
spoke
automatic.
about this a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I love the automatic. I remember someone asking me, I was like, I remember just feeling so chuffed. Like, someone finally asked me. I was like, I could finally show off. And it was really because my left winger is getting further forward. So I didn't want an overload on the left. So I just had the wing back on automatic because I don't know that role, just basically automatic. He's just like kind of just...
Do what you want to do.
Yeah, you sort of judge it. Whereas if it's hard coded for him to get further forward, and he's going to do that regardless sort of thing. So that's the only reason, So I did say wing back support myself, so yeah.
Wing backs are automatic, everyone. Wing backs are automatic.
Fullback on support though is kind of my go-to role this year. I think that I get the best balance. I think from that attacking wise, complete wing back of course is pretty effective, but for balance, fullback on support is that's my go-to.
Nice. I like it. Yeah. All right. So big shout out for the automatic roles. Let us know how you get on with those. I quite like that actually. How would you create from that clip? That's an interesting standpoint. I don't think we've done that before. So, again, maybe something to go in the future. If you see a goal you want to recreate or a tactic for a team, ask us. We might be able to work it out. Yeah. You know? So,
but do word it. How would we do it? And then we can reply back. I would do it rather than saying I'm right and everyone else is wrong.
And there's a chance Aaron's already done a video on it as well. So,
just my interpretation.
Let me use a tactic. That's funny. You should mention that because
I've got a reputation myself, lads. Come on, I can't be getting tactics wrong on there.
And if people wanted to get in touch on social media, Aaron, where would they do that?
Well, they can find us at the FM Show on all social media platforms. So on Twitter, it will be the FM Show Pod, and also on YouTube. Actually, it is just the FM Show.
And it's the FM Show Pod at gmail.com for longer correspondence and emails. You can tell us how great we are, or you can send us stories, or you can send us your tactics, or any queries you have that can't fit in 140 characters. So that's the best way to do it. Or come and join us in the Discord. Come join us in there, which is a great place to hang out. A great community being built there. I think you'd agree, Aaron, and some good conversations happening. We had a message from Dennis Pearl here in Discord the other day. It says, thanks for picking up on lower league management. When we discussed scouting on a previous episode, we were talking about Wonder Kids, weren't we? Going, where'd you get your Wonder Kids from? And I was like, what if you're in the lower leagues? So thanks for picking up on lower league management when you discussed scouting the other day. Talent spotting in Croatia and Brazil? ? My Oxford City side can't afford a super saver off-peak return to Reading. So, yeah, that's a bit fair in it. Sometimes it's like people doing a podcast going, hey, let's talk Wonder Kids, when a lot of people play a lower league football manager. We understand that.
Also on YouTube as well, I just want to say thank you for the support over the last episode as well. That is really appreciated. That is currently doing well. And we did get one or two comments. Now, we got one comment from Scott, which I actually find interesting because no one's actually mentioned the assistant and the feedback. But he said that's why he plays on the 2D view. If your left back is giving the ball away a lot, you can see it more obvious. If he's being overwhelmed, you can literally see it. If he isn't getting the ball at all, and you can see that too. So he's saying basically in 2D, I think it's more clearer. So with 3D, you've got so many things to distraction. You got the fans, you got the smoke, you got everything going on. I think with 2D, and it is kind of true as well for me. When I'm creating tactics, I do like to start off in 2D because I just feel that you can see things a little bit better as well. We also got a message from Ian Voss on YouTube. My super sub for one season was in FM22, and he got an agent, Scott McTominay.
Oh.
He got him 8 league goals from the bench and a winner in extra time in the Europa League final. And this is what I hope for. This is the sort of stuff. This is what I dream of. I don't ever get to do this sort of thing because I don't know. I've had like 1 or 2 super subs, but not someone that I really believe in and be like, you know what, this cut fine, I'm bringing you one to get me a goal. But he ended up getting fined for bad results the very next season after selling Scott. So, like, I want to leave a love heart on that comment, but can you heart a comment after you say he got fired from his job? No matter how funny.
Yeah, I know. Scott McSauce doing the business.
Super sub. Yeah, Scott McTominay. Love it. Is it beautiful? A little bit in real life as well, isn't it? Starting to do his thing.
A little bit. He's that thing like, oh, you know, like he's the sort of almost the square peg in the round hole. Stick him in, he does the job, and it's like,
I like it. To be
start him. As you say, should we start him? Or maybe not.
Yeah.
Come off the bench. And here we go. But yes, as Aaron says, thank you so much to everyone who's commenting on all the videos that they made, interacting on Twitter, watching videos as well, dropping likes, subscribing to the YouTube channel. Like honestly, all that stuff is like the basis of making the podcast grow bigger. So if you see the videos, give them a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, wherever you get those podcasts from, if you're an audio fan instead. And retweet little clips and stuff we put out. And I guess ultimately next week, we'll see if that's worked, Aaron. Let us know what tactics are doing your heads in, and let us know what terrifies you. As I say, we look forward to seeing all that. And we'll be back next week because that was episode 35 of the FM show, hosted by myself, Tony Jameson, my co-host, as always, Mr. Aaron Falloon, a.k.a. RDF Tactics. Our producer is producer Steve Hankey. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. We will see you soon.
Want to learn even more about Football Manager? Subscribe to the Patreon. Just visit patreon.com/thefmshowpod. Don't forget to rate and review, and follow along on the socials at the FM Show Pod.